This is Colette with Love It Forever. You can check me out at loveitforever.com. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're not, welcome back. Let's get into the video. Okay guys, so I got a big order of shirts and a large order of some masks. So I decided, since the t-shirts require embroidery, that why not do a embroidery 101 video. So we are here today to do embroidery class. If you have a PE800, then you can go ahead and stitch along with me. If you don't, or you're just curious, go ahead and stay tuned, okay? So let's start this embroidery 101 class. Alright guys, so to begin with embroidery, so you're going to need some basic things. You're going to need embroidery thread, you're going to need your fabric scissors, you will need these smaller scissors. They usually come with the machine. You're also going to need your hoop, which comes with the machine. Now hoops come in all different kind of sizes, in case you don't know. The PE800 comes with the 5x7, but you can also use a 4x4, which is usually the smallest one that people tend to use. Now embroidery hoops go large. They go to like 15x15 even. But in this particular case, most home sewing machines are usually going to stick probably with the 5x7. You may get a little bit bigger than that when you get to a multi-needle machine, but I'm assuming that you are just starting out and you have a single needle home machine. So we're going to do the 5x7 with the PE800, okay? So like I said, you're going to need your hoop and your scissors, your embroidery thread. Now it is different than cotton thread, so make sure what you're getting is embroidery thread. It's a lot different and you can mess up your machine, okay? So make sure you have embroidery thread. They also you're also going to need stabilizer. Now that's something that's not going to come with your machine, so you're going to need stabilizer. There's all kind of different kinds of stabilizer. You have tear away stabilizer, you have wash away stabilizer, you have fusible stabilizer. So there's a lot of different kinds to choose from, but 9 times out of 10, if you're doing a t-shirt, you're probably going to use the tear away stabilizer. Usually any kind of cotton fabrics, polyester fabrics, you're usually going to use a tear away stabilizer. Now you're also going to need fabric. Now my fabric that I use when I'm just doing like a test, I use tester fabric. So basically what that is a big roll. I have a huge bolt of t-shirt material, and I cut the size of my hoop, or smaller sometimes, but usually I cut the size of my hoop, and I put it on top of my stabilizer, which I'm going to show you in a second, and then I go ahead and just use that as a sample, and then I'll put it on my actual, I put that design onto my actual project if I like how the sample turned out. This is going to save money. It's also going to save you time, because you're kind of going to already know your tension, what colors you're going to want. It's going to save you time. So doing a sample is the best way to go before you start on your actual project, okay? So let's get into this. So now you're going to take your hoop. I'm going to put the camera down just so you can see better. So here's our hoop. We're going to take it apart like this. Take your stabilizer. Now your stabilizer, most likely you're going to want it to be bigger than your hoop. Now, due to unforeseen circumstances, Amazon unfortunately did not send me my correct size of my hoop. So when that's the case, I can usually use 2 and just cover it. Or in this case, since I'm just doing a small sample today, I'm only going to use 1 piece of stabilizer, and I'm going to put it right in the middle, and that's where I'm going to end up stitching. Okay, so we're going to put a stabilizer right here, and then we're going to take our fabric that, again, for me it's a sample. For you, maybe you want to start with your real project, that's on you, but me personally, I would say go ahead and do a sample fabric, And we're gonna lay that over the bottom hoop, okay? The bottom part of the hoop. This second part of the hoop, you're gonna stick on top. Hopefully you can see it, all right? So you're gonna stick that on top. Now this is where the important part comes in as far as hooping is concerned. Okay, so when you come in, when you take this and you come into the top, you want to make sure that when you hoop it, it is as taut as you can get it. And the reason being is because things shift during embroidery. Now, if you can see, I'm kind of having a little trouble pushing it in. When you have that trouble, which sometimes you'll come across, what you're going to do is this little gadget right here at the end, this clip, you can turn it either counterclockwise or clockwise, and it'll tighten or loosen it, okay? So what I'm going to do is go clockwise, well, my bad, counterclockwise, and that is going to loosen it enough for me to pop the hoop all the way in. Hopefully. Hold on. There we go. Alright, we're going to pop the hoop all the way in. And the best thing is to look at the back, and you'll see if you hooped it correctly. Alright, now mine, it looks like it's hooped correctly, but it's not. Okay, reason being is this. If it's too short, you'll get this. Okay, where your stabilizer can come away from the bottom. We don't want that. Okay, so what that means is I got two choices. I can pop this top hoop off and restart, or I can simply loosen it a little more, which seems to be harder in my case because apparently I tightened it really tight. So I'm going to pop it out, okay, and start over. Sometimes, it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes you are able to simply loosen it without taking it out of the hoop and then just correct it and then tighten it back up. But in my case, I did it a little too tight, so therefore I have to start over, which is fine. Sometimes you just gotta start again. Now we are hooped up correctly, okay? We have no stabilizer coming from the outside. Everything is taut like I would like it. We don't want this to be too loose. The reason being is once those stitches start going into the fabric, you're gonna get a lot of bounciness going on. And when you have too much bounciness going on in your hoop, what will happen is your thread will start jamming up, and you might have a lot more issues than you need to have. So therefore, to avoid all that, make sure it's kind of taut in the back enough that if there's a little bit of bounciness from that needle, it's not going to be so much to where you're going to end up with some issues. Okay, so let's take this over. Alright guys, so we're here at the PE800. You want to make sure you have embroidery thread. Whatever thread that you want to have, whatever color that you want to have, make sure you have that put in your machine, threaded properly according to your machine's instruction manual. So here we have our touch screen. Now right here is where we have all the little designs we can do that are already preset onto the machine. If you see right here, you have a USB. That's where you're going to load designs at that you take from your laptop or your desktop, and you put it on to the USB drive, put it into the machine. I'm not doing that with this one because right now I'm just doing regular old text, just so I can kind of gauge what kind of thread I need, well, thread, not tension I need, and what font I'm kind of looking for. So this is just a sample. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this button here, and I'm going to use one of these fonts that I see. So let's just choose number 2. Now, it's going to take you to the place where you actually do all the fun stuff. So I'm going to just write chief on this one. So right now, we're on the uppercase letter, so I'm going to start with a C. And that is going to open up the options for me to keep it either large, medium, or small. Okay? What I'm going to do, you can hit check as well, and the check is basically, it's just going to show you where it's going to be. So I hit C. Now let's go ahead and finish the letter. So I have to click this over button, which is down here. I have to click the over button in order to get to the next letters. Okay, so that's what I'm doing down here. That's why you see it moving. Alright, so we have H, I, E, and F. Now we're going to hit set, which is this button in the bottom right corner. We're going to hit set. Now, we see on the screen, this is what it's going to look like. Now for me, even though it's medium, for me I think it's going to be too large on my shirt. So how do we make this smaller without going back through all those original steps? We're going to go to size. We're going to hit size. And right here we have all the options to either make it bigger or smaller. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit medium again. It's going to automatically make it smaller. And for me now, I think it's going to be too small. So this right here, I have a grid that has 4 arrows on it going outward. Now when the arrows go outward, that means you're making it bigger. When you see the arrows on the top, that all those arrows go inward, those inward arrows means it's going to make it smaller. So what we're going to do for this purpose is we're going to hit the 4 that are going outward to make it bigger. So as many times as you hit it, that's how big or small it's going to get. You can either press and hold, or if you just need a little alteration, you just hit it. Okay? So I'm just going to keep pressing. Now for me, that's way too big. Alright? So what we're going to do, over here, like I told you before, we can go to the one above it and we just make it a little smaller. You press and hold, it can make it smaller. You also have the option of just making it either wider or longer. So if you only need to change the width or the height, just go right next to it. So the one next to it, you're going to be changing the width. So you can either press it so it can shrink, or you press the one right below it so it can widen. Alright? And then the one next to it, you can lengthen. Or if you go above it, you can shorten. Now I want to see exactly where it's going to stitch. So I'm going to press N. And I'm going to hit this little trace button right here in the middle. So one of the upgrades for the PE800 is that it actually shows you the area that it's going to stitch in before it actually. So right here you have it highlighted right there on the center. It's saying this is the center. Right here on this screen you'll see a little green plus sign. It's saying this is your center. Alright? So you want to see exactly where it's going to trace before you actually put those stitches there. Because once those stitches are there, it's going to suck trying to get them back out. Okay? Especially if this is an expensive garment or anything that you're embroidering and nothing that you want to lose money on. So you want to always do the trace first just to make sure. In my case, it's a sample. In your case, it may not be. So keep that in mind. So anyway, so now that we're at the center, we're going to hit this button right here. It looks like the one that you just pressed in the previous screen. You're going to hit that button, and I want you to look at my carrots once I hit that button. Zoom you guys out so you can see. Alright, so look right over here. When I hit OK, when I hit the square button. So it's going to move. It's telling me this is the area that I'm going to sew in. If this is the correct area, then go ahead and press OK, meaning that you're good with that placement. And I'm good with that placement because that's exactly where I need it to be. So from there, I'm going to hit embroidery, which is this bottom right button. And then I'm going to put my presser foot down, which is here in the back. And that's going to lower the needle. If you can see how this color right here changes to green. If I put it up, that means red, as in stop. I cannot sew right now, okay? If you drop it, it means, hey, we're good to go, okay? So stop, I cannot sew. Green, I'm good to go, okay? So right now we are good to go. We are good to sew. We see that our trace was good, so now we are ready to stitch. So this green button, all we're gonna do is press that green button and let it start. do some quality checks. You want to look at your stitching on the front. So on this particular one, I would say my tension is probably too tight. And this is why. If I get a little closer. So you see right here, we have some puffering going on here. And in the back, though my bobbin thread is nice, it's not how it should be. I should not have a lot more bobbin than I do top thread. It should kind of be even. If you go to, they actually have a chart. I wish I had it with me. They actually have a chart where it says exactly the percentage of what the bobbin to the top thread should be that you should be seeing on the back. However, this will work just fine, but this is not your 100% perfect. And that would mean basically that it has to do with my tension. Now I'm going to show you exactly how you can check your tension right now. Okay, so here, if we go back to our screen where when we hit embroidery, this is the screen that we go to before we end up pressing the red or green button. So over here at this screen, you'll see your mini design right here, a mini window of your design saying what thread that you're using and how long it's going to take. That's your first line. Your second line says nothing, and your third line you have some scissors and a needle and thread. That's going to be your tension, okay? So right now my tension was on 4. Now because of the puffering and stuff that I've seen, most likely my tension was too tight. I can't exactly tell you if you should go higher or lower with your tension. It's something that you kind of have to play around. There's really no real rule of thumb, but usually in most circumstances, the heavier your thread, usually the tighter the tension you're gonna need, and the thinner your fabric, and the thinner your fabric, usually the lower the tension you're gonna need. So I found usually like on my heavier fabrics, I'm usually using like a 4 and above, and on my lighter fabrics, I'm usually using more like a 2.4, 2.6, something like that. So, but you have to play with it. It's on your, that's why we always do the samples that I tell you before you actually put it on your project, so you can gauge exactly what needs to be adjusted. And most likely the only thing that you're going to need to adjust is your tension. It's only going to be 2 issues, your tension or your hooping. So those are going to be your main issues. So if you're messing with the tension and every single time you mess with the tension you're still getting an issue, most likely it's going to be the way you hooped your stabilizer, or how much stabilizer, or the material that you're using. So if it's not your tension, check. We're on our hoop. So now to take it off, you can do one of 2 ways. You can leave it like this and then just pop it out, or you can do it the correct way and unscrew it, loosen your hoop, and then pop it out. Me, I usually, if I'm doing multiple of the same thing, I'll keep it tightened so I don't have to keep messing with the screw thing, and then I'll just pop it out and put in the exact same fabric. But if I'm dealing with different fabrics, then I go ahead and just unscrew it. But if I'm doing all the same fabrics, I leave the tension the same, because I'm going to have to re-hoop it the same exact way every time. Alright, so we take it out of our hoop. Alright, so you see my tearaway stabilizer still on the back. All we're going to do exactly what it says. Tear it away. Alright, so we're going to take off our fabric. And then as you see, it's already coming off. It's already coming off. Alright, now all you're going to do is tear the rest. Now I wouldn't say just go ahead and rip it all off. You can do that if you want to waste money. But if you don't want to waste money, be strategic when you take it off. So you're only taking out the letters. So you have all this so you can do multiple projects. Okay? Multiple projects. And most likely this isn't going to be your only project. So you don't want to just keep throwing away a whole bunch of stabilizer if you don't have to, because that's a waste of money. Alright, so this can probably get me another chief 1, 2, probably 3 times. probably 3 times, because we're gonna put a chief here, here, and probably at the bottom somewhere. All right, so this is gonna serve me for multiple projects, so I don't just want to tear it all up and throw it away. See those threads? They're called jump stitches. Let me see if I can get you close enough. All right, this thread right here, you see this one all the way down here, and then you'll see another one right here by this E. Those are called jump stitches. What those mean is basically it's just what it says. The stitch has jumped to start the next letter, all right, or the next section, or whatever you're embroidering. So that's what a jump stitch is, all right. It skips a whole bunch of stitches. It jumps from here to the next destination. Instead of going through the stitching to get there, it just jumps, all right. So that's a jump stitch. So all those jump stitches that you see, we're gonna clean those up with some scissors, okay, very carefully. So what I do is I use the small scissors. Now these scissors, they usually come, the Brother, they usually have like a little starter pack, so you'll get little scissors like these in them. But if you go to Walmart or something, you'll see little tiny scissors like this, like on even Angela's videos. She uses like these little small Fisker scissors. They're orange. It's the same thing, okay? So just get some tiny scissors, because the bigger scissors, like the fabric scissors like these, way too big for you to cut jump stitches, because you can make a mistake. All right, so it's a lot easier to have more control with the smaller ones. So we're gonna use these scissors right here. Go right underneath. Oh, I hope you can see that. But here's my stitch. I'm gonna take my scissors, go right underneath that stitch, and clip as close as I can onto the letter. All right, so now this jump stitch is loose. All right, so now I'm gonna go to the base of that jump stitch, and I'm gonna take my scissors and cut the rest as close as I can to the fabric. All right, now you see why it kind of is not gonna work with big scissors, because if I take the big scissors, granted, I can get under this jump stitch right here, but I can make a critical mistake and have to restart embroidering all over again if I cut it too close. If I make one mistake, I could end up messing up my whole project, because these again are fabric scissors. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna easily cut whatever fabric, all right? So that's why you wanna use the smaller scissors, less likely. So even if you do make a mistake, it's less likely to cut through your fabric and make a hole that you're gonna have to restart over from. Okay, so we always wanna use the small scissors when we're cutting the jump stitches. Now all you do now is do whatever you're gonna do with it. You're gonna put together your project, you're gonna cut around it and do whatever it is you're gonna do with it. And that's pretty much how you do embroidery. That's Embroidery 101 right there. Alright guys, so that's my Embroidery 101 video. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe below. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, and I'll see you in the next one.